Star Trek Online had a live stream earlier today going over details on the USS Omega, which is the new ship that they are bringing into Star Trek Online in collaboration with IDW Comics. And we also got details on the Halloween event, including its prize. In today's live stream, we got a whole showcase showing off the Omega here. We got a good look at the ship itself. I'm not going to go over a huge amount of detail in the looks of the ship in this video, just because I'm kind of strapped for time. So I'm going to link the VOD to the live stream down below in the pinned comment. So if you want to get a better look at the ship before it's released, you can do that through there. In the meantime, we're going to look at the stats of this thing, which we got a bit of a look at. These screenshots were taken directly from the live stream, which is why they are fairly low quality. Apologies for that, but I did try to write things down so you guys can see what's what. So the Omega is going to be a Miracle Worker light battle cruiser. It being a battle cruiser means it's going to be fairly tactical heavy, and as you can see in the bridge officer seating, it's actually quite tactical heavy, but it's a battle cruiser, so it's still going to have a good amount of engineering seating, and it's a light battle cruiser, probably as an homage to the old Constitution class, because the Omega is obviously very reminiscent of the original Constitution, so they wanted to give it a little bit of homage to that by making it a light battle cruiser, because in Star Trek Online at least, the old school Constitution is a light cruiser. I'm sure a bunch of you are wanting to yell at me, no, it's a heavy cruiser in every other media for Star Trek. Keep in mind, it's a light cruiser for Star Trek Online because it's classified as a light cruiser by the 25th century. That's why it's classified as a light cruiser. But yeah, we didn't get a super detailed look at the stats. A blog will probably be releasing tomorrow when the ship goes live in the game. So that's when we'll get a good look at like the movement stats and the inertia rating and more specific stuff like that. But we still get a look at the basics here. So we know it's got a 4-4 weapons layout, which I know, but yeah, it's not, a super huge deal considering the bridge officer layout on this thing. We'll get into a little bit more discussion on that. But yeah, 4-4 weapons layout. It's got 4 device slots, and in the consoles, it's got 5 engineering consoles, 2 science console slots, 4 tactical, and 1 universal because it is a Miracle Worker ship. And being a Miracle Worker ship, it will also have the innovation mechanic. In the bridge officer seating, it has a Lieutenant Commander Tactical / Pilot seat, which is kind of interesting. So meaning this is going to be a Miracle Worker pilot ship, a Lieutenant level Tactical, Commander Engineering / Miracle Worker, Ensign Engineering, and Lieutenant Commander Universal. So the ship ends up being pretty heavy in both engineering and tactical seating, which I'm a little about. I mean, at least it has that universal seating, so you can, at least throw some science seating in there if you really want to. But honestly, it still feels like a lot of tactical and engineering. I'd really love to see this ensign level engineering seat be literally anything else. No, that's not true. Not literally anything else, because it's already got too much tactical. Science would be nice here. More universal seating would also be nice here. But yeah, it's just a little bit engineering heavy to be annoying, in my opinion. And this being a Miracle Worker ship, of course, we're going to have to bring up the discussion of how Miracle Worker bridge officer seating abilities have been kind of underwhelming in the current state of the game. They're kind of underpowered. A lot of them really do need a buff. Miracle Worker has 2 abilities that should trigger unconventional systems, but they don't, and that nothing's been done to update that. So that's something that is annoying. Fortunately, Pilot does have 1 unconventional systems trigger in its roster. It's got a clean getaway in it, so you'll be able to do that. And plus, you can get more uncon triggers if you run this as a science seat. And there are still a couple of uncon triggers in the engineering seating as well, like eject warp plasma and the warp bubble thing that I'm blanking on its name. But yeah, either of those can work too, but their cooldowns are a bit longer, which is why a lot of people usually default to the science abilities when they can. Also, let's get this part out of the way too. They did confirm on the live stream that the Omega is going to be releasing in the Infinity lock boxes. So yeah, really not a surprise. This is a ship that was done in collaboration with IDW. So was the Theseus. Theseus was also released in the Infinity lock boxes. So really not a surprise that they're throwing this in there, but still kind of a disappointment. But of course, if you do like the ship and don't want to engage in the gamble box content, there's always the next year's event campaign. We also got a good look at the console and starship trait on this thing. The console is called Attack Pattern Kirk Omega. This is the tooltip information here, but like I said, it's a screen grab from the live stream, which wasn't exactly high res. So I typed out all the text from the tooltip up here so you guys could read it better. So what this console does is, first, its passive abilities. It has plus 15 to flight speed and a 15% reduction time to all transwarp abilities. So, it's literally those transwarp abilities that you can use to jump to different maps and skipping sector space entirely, which I want to talk about that a little bit later, because reducing the recharge time of transwarp abilities in 2025, oof, Seriously. So the theme of this console is speed, which you can kind of gather from the passives already, but the click abilities on it are kind of interesting, honestly. So the click ability, attack pattern Kirk Omega, while it's active, you will be immune to all damage in your rear arc for up to 30 seconds or until you reach a certain amount of damage that has been prevented. So the shield will only be able to stay up for so long and only be able to take so much damage. The tooltip said it'll only prevent 24,845. I did put an asterisk up there because that seems like a really arbitrary number, so I'm guessing that's tied into some skill, so your mileage may vary on that. You also gain plus 0 to 33% damage, depending on your throttle percentage, so depending on your speed, you will gain a damage buff. It's only a Cat 1 damage buff, and honestly, plus 33% Cat 1 damage really isn't a lot, so I'm a little iffy on that one. I would have liked to see that be either the Cat 1 buff be higher or make it lower and make it a bonus damage buff instead. But one of the really interesting things that they did with this console is that every time you use a pilot bridge officer ability, it will reduce the cooldown time of this console by 15%, meaning you'll be able to reduce the cooldown of this console without having to use something like unconventional systems. This is an interesting ability. It doesn't help any of your other bridge officer abilities, so you're still going to want to use Uncon and the Voven console. But it's interesting that they would further add more cooldown reductions just built into the console itself. That's kind of interesting. And I would say normally it would be useful for budget players, but this is a lockbox ship. So Star Trek Online, once again, really not knowing how to play to its audience. Like, classic. The console itself will have a 2-minute recharge, but like I said, you can reduce that by activating pilot abilities. And then here at the bottom, it just reiterates how using pilot bridge officer abilities will reduce the recharge time of the console by 15%. It's an interesting console. I could see this being valuable for tanking consoles, especially because of that damage immunity in the rear arc. And that's actually a pretty decent coverage there because it covers your entire 180-degree arc. So really, it's going to be getting portions of your sides as well as your as well as the aft of your ship too. So that's kind of interesting, honestly. That plus the fact that it's got its own built-in cooldown reduction, which presumably will stack with Uncon and Voven, meaning you can probably get this console to be active a pretty good amount of time despite the fact that it has a default 2-minute recharge time. So the clickability on this thing does seem fairly interesting if you are someone who really likes pilot ships or really likes flying quickly and constantly. You're just constantly flying around in circles doing all kinds of crazy maneuvers and stuff like that. If you're someone who likes doing that kind of gameplay, this is a console that could probably appeal to you quite a bit for the sake of survivability, increasing your speed and turn rate even further, and giving you a little bit of a damage buff along with it. And you'll probably be able to use this console fairly often depending on how many pilot abilities you are using on your build. My big issue here with this console is the passive. Plus 15 to flight speed, that's okay. It's certainly theme fitting for the rest of the console, and more speed is certainly going to help you with this sort of build that you're going for here. My big issue here is the 15% reduction to recharge time on your transwarp abilities, because that's useless. That does absolutely nothing. Most people don't even bother using the normal transwarp abilities. They just get around those by saving episodes in their mission journal, which you can just transwarp to immediately for free with no cooldown. People just save those and use those as their transwarps instead of using the normal transwarp menu, because that way it doesn't trigger a 15-minute cooldown. So yeah, putting a reduced recharge time on a console in 2025, this is just super dated thinking right there. I don't like this. This should be traded for something that will further increase damage, because like the console's clickability is already not doing great for a damage buff. So like doing something that'll give you a little bit more damage in the passive, I feel like would be better than just the reduced recharge time to transwarp abilities, because like I said, those are pointless. But yeah, other than that gripe, it's an interesting console, and I feel like it'll suit a number of different gameplay styles for players who are wanting to do a bit of a less traditional tank that relies more on speed, but also does still incorporate elements of damage immunity and resistance, which can be useful too. Because like speed tanks are a thing. That is a build type that does work. It's very niche and kind of difficult to put together, but it works. And if you know how to put that kind of stuff together, this is a console that would definitely benefit that sort of build. The Starship trait, Adaptive Throttle, also feeds further into the whole speed mechanic here. So while you are at full throttle and in combat, you gain stacks of Adaptive Throttle every 2 seconds, which can stack up to 10 times. For every stack, you gain an increase in all damage bonus by 2.5% to weapons fired on your forward arc, and plus 5% to weapons fired in your aft arc. And it'll also decrease your weapon fire power cost by 5%. but you will immediately lose all these buffs if your throttle drops below maximum. Now, I'm a little torn on this one because it's kind of the main reason why the ship has a 4-4 weapons layout, because you're expected to be kind of tactically retreating from things, or pulling some crazy maneuver where enemies are going to be behind you. That's why it has a 4-4 weapons layout to begin with. They wanted it to have more weapon slots in the back because they figure you're going to be moving away from stuff more often. In fact, they said on the live stream that they briefly considered giving this a 3-5 weapons layout, but they didn't want it to be that weird. Well, I'm not someone who says another 3-5 ship should ever be made into the game. Frankly, I think it's an interesting idea that could be done really well. It's just I agree that it wouldn't have worked on this ship that great. Yeah, it's interesting. My big problem with this one is that I feel like it should be bonus damage. This one just says all damage bonus, so I don't think that's bonus damage. It should, if it was bonus damage, it would say bonus all damage, not all damage bonus. This just means all damage bonus means it's just giving you a bonus of 2.5, but that's still a Cat 1 buff. So really, that's my only complaint. This should be bonus damage, meaning it should be Cat 2 damage. Cat 1 damage, it's not that high. The weapon firing cost reduction is okay, but again, only 5%. That's not a lot. Yeah, interesting trait. It certainly fits the theme for the rest of the ship. I just feel like it's a bit underpowered in terms of the damage buff it gives. Of course, that's probably not saying much from someone like me because, more damage, it's never enough. So, yeah. So overall with the ship, it's interesting. It's not going to be anything that's going to break the meta or anything like that. But if you like fast, speedy ships, this is something that might appeal to you. So that's really all I can say about it. If you like speed and you like damage immunity that's tied into that speed, this is something that could appeal to you. But beyond that, that's kind of the whole gimmick there. As for the stats of the ship itself, I mean, it'll make a decent broadside build, but I mean, there are plenty of other ships that will make decent broadside builds that can be found in the C store. Like, honestly, if you're looking for something that would make a decent broadside build, that's like a 4-4 ship that is good for energy weapon builds, the Lexington is a far better ship, and it's far easier to obtain because it's in the C store. So yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way to get this ship just for the sake of its stats. But if you like the ship, I mean, go for it. It's your money. Don't be afraid to go after it. It's still a decent ship. You can absolutely make it work because, like, it's a T6 ship. It's got decent seating on it. You can absolutely make this work for any level content in the game. So if you like it, go for it. If you don't like it, don't feel like you are obligated to get it because it doesn't come with anything super special, in my opinion. Now, we also got to look at some of the customization options on the ship as well. And honestly, there really isn't much there. I was really disappointed to find out that this ship is not kit bashable with any other versions of the Constitution class. I did find that really surprising, given that it looks just like the Constitution class. They said on the live stream that they toyed around with the idea of possibly making it kit bashable with either the Constitutions or possibly even the Theses as well, because in the comic books, the frame of the Omega is actually originally based off of the Theseus, because it's the IDW comics. Of course, they're going to work in the Theseus in there somewhere. So yeah, there is a little bit of Theseus in the ship's DNA, so they tried to kind of make it work with that. But yeah, part of the reason they decided to not go further with that is because they felt like it's just such a contrasting, different looking design. Because like the Omega is very rough, very gritty, very grungy, very slapped together with a bunch of random parts, and it really clashes with that clean utopian look of pretty much every other Federation ship. And that was kind of the big reason why they didn't want to have this thing kit bashable with either the Constitutions or the Theseus or other Starfleet ships. And I don't know. I don't really agree with that assessment, just because for me, it's not that I would want to kit bash the ship. It's more that I would want to replace the skin entirely. It's not that Omega is a bad looking ship. They did a great job on the model. It's just, I'm not a huge fan of the dirty, grungy looking ships in a Star Trek setting. I like the clean utopian look of Starfleet ships. So if I was going to fly something like this, I would much rather fly in a more traditional Constitution skin, or even one of the other Theseus skins, the TMP or the mainline Theseus costumes. Either one of those I would prefer. But yeah, it's just, like I said, it's a good looking ship. They did a really great job with a lot of the visuals on there. There's a lot of unique stuff here that you don't typically see in Star Trek Online. It's not my vibe. So it's kind of a shame to find out that I can't make it into something that's my vibe, especially when it comes to Star Trek Online, which is, at least in the past, was a game that prided itself on its customization options. And it's a shame that they're not embracing that with this ship. That said, there are some customization options with this ship, but they're just like small little details. In the comics, there is no registry number on the ship. but in the concept art for the ship, they gave it a registry number, and apparently pundits like the look of it, so he went in and gave the in-game model that option. So you can either choose to have the registry number visible or not visible on the ship through the tailor. There's also these unique, they call them vanity warp nacelles. So the warp nacelles with the spinning like TOS kind of effect of the Bussard collectors. You can have that as an option in there, but it's an optional thing. So if you don't like the spinny animation in the Bussard collectors, you can turn that off in the ship tailor. Yeah, beyond that, it has all the usual hull materials you would expect of a modern Tier 6 ship, plus several of the 32nd century hull materials. So it's got the unique Omega material, plus it'll have the 32nd century hull material and the Janeway hull material. And it'll have the usual assortment of window options as well, but that's about all the customization options that it'll have. So overall, stats-wise, it's certainly a neat ship if you were someone who likes the, speedy, zippy kind of ships, but don't want to fly something as squishy as a pilot escort. This could be a decent alternative for you, or this could be something that you could get to further increase the survivability of your small, zippy pilot escort, thanks to this thing's console. I know several players were upset about the 4-4 weapons layout, and initially I was at 2 when I first saw it, but after seeing the rest of the theme they put together on this thing, I could see the logic. It does make sense. So my only response would be to that is put a broadside build on it. And in regards to the customization, again, I am still a bit disappointed that you can't customize this thing with existing versions of the Constitution class. I was hoping that they would do that, but oh well. Though honestly, I'm really not all that upset about it, just because like the stats are okay, but they're not something that super appeals to my sort of play style. So even if this thing could be kit bashed with the other Constitutions, I would still be flying the other Constitutions regardless. So either the Temporal Light Cruiser or the Shangri-La. I much prefer those stats over the stats that this thing has. That's just me. So it really doesn't change anything for me personally, but I still feel like being able to kit bash this thing with other versions of the Constitution would give this more mass appeal to more players. Anyway, the Omega will be going live tomorrow on PC. It will be available in the Infinity lockboxes. Console players, I don't know when this will be going live for you guys, but it'll probably be in a month or two. Now, moving on to the other news that Star Trek Online talked about, we got to find out more about the Halloween event, which is also going to be going live tomorrow, but that's going to be going live for all 3 platforms. So everyone get ready for the Halloween event tomorrow after tomorrow's patch. In the live stream, we got a good look at the reward for this year's Halloween event, which is kind of interesting in my opinion. It's a universal kit module called Summon Risen Walkers. And basically what it lets you do is not only does it let you summon zombies, like actual zombies that will rise out of the ground and they will attack nearby enemy targets, but if you die, the passive on this console will also allow you to turn into a zombie and attack enemies as a zombie. So the clickability on this thing is Summon Risen Walkers. It'll summon 4 Risen Walkers or zombies, which, they look like, cliche shambling zombies in torn up original series uniforms, which I really like that they went with like original series uniforms because it's such a vibe. It's such a, like Thomas talked about this in the live stream, how the whole joke about like zombie crew members has always been like a thing. It's never been something that Star Trek itself has embraced a whole lot, but there's a lot of like, fan jokes, fan art, stuff like that, and even other licensed beta canon material that has engaged with this. In fact, I recently found my copy of Night of the Living Trekkies, which is a book about a zombie outbreak at a Star Trek convention. So this is a whole, vibe that the fandom has kind of embraced for a long time, but just kind of, subtly, and it's been a thing that's been around the fandom for a while. So it's really cool to see Star Trek Online kind of embracing this for the Halloween event. And weirdly, it's well timed because again, they talked about this on the live stream too. The fact that Strange New Worlds had a zombie episode this season, completely coincidental. They had not planned that. That just kind of happened in tandem with each other. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So what the console does is it will summon 4 zombies around you. They will rise up out of the ground and they'll follow you around and attack nearby enemies. And they will stay alive for 30 seconds and then they'll keel over and die. Now, 30 seconds really isn't that long of a period, but the console only has a 1 minute, 10-second recharge time. So couple that with something like Mud's time device to further reduce its cooldown, you're going to be able to summon those zombies pretty often. Now, additionally, this thing also has a passive. Upon dying, you will return as a Risen Walker, granting you access to new abilities. This effect will last 30 seconds, and then you will die afterwards. And then that passive ability has a 2-minute cooldown. So not only is this a summoner kit module, but it's also one of those transforming kit modules, kind of like the Voth Walker or that the Atrexian mood shifter That's based off of that Lower Decks episode. So it'll give you access to various melee abilities that'll let you, claw, scratch, and bite. And also, there's like this lunge ability that looked really cool. I didn't get a good look at the tooltips of each of those abilities, so I'm not really sure how in depth it goes. But it's really interesting to see. It's a fun gimmick kit module. I don't know if it's going to be any like good damage wise. Honestly, it probably won't be, but I don't care. It's funny, it's thematic, and also speaking as someone who loves zombie movies, like back in the day, I freaking loved zombie movies. If this was 2013, I would be losing my mind over this thing. Like, so I am really excited to see this in game. This is going to be absolutely silly, and I love it. Additionally, we also got some information on how this passive will work that wasn't in the tooltip. First off, while in walker form, you will be immune to stun effect, which is kind of nice. But also, this thing will work alongside with the passive on the Red Angel suit. The Red Angel suit, if you're not familiar with, it has a passive ability that will revive you if you happen to die in combat on the ground. So people were kind of concerned that, is this going to conflict with the Red Angel suit, because this also has a revive effect after you die. Fortunately, they accounted for that while designing this thing. So the way it works is the Red Angel suit's passive will trigger first. It'll bring you back to life, and then you can continue fighting. But if you die again before the passive on the Red Angel suit is off cooldown, then the passive for the Summon Risen Walkers will kick in, and then you will transform into a zombie. So basically, if you have both this and the Red Angel suit equipped, it'll prioritize the Red Angel suit's passive, but if that's on cooldown, then it will trigger the zombie passive. There's also one other funny thing to mention with this kit module. The summon effect can be activated in social zones, and when it's activated in social zones, the zombies will do the Thriller dance. Yeah, that's just hilarious. I absolutely love that. So get ready for dancing zombies to be riddled all over ESD for the next couple months. They're also releasing a few new emotes with this year's Halloween event. They're releasing them a little weird. You'll be able to purchase them for low buy. They cost 20 low buy each, and they are single character unlocks. But for some reason, they're putting them in the event reclaim store, which I think is a weird place to put those. I guess it does kind of make sense given that these are tied to the event, but it's a reclaim store. The reclaim store is stuff that you've already unlocked and that is already unlocked on your account. So putting these single character purchases into the reclaim menu, I think, is not a great move. And it's just going to confuse players that they not only have to purchase something out of this menu, but that they will also only be single character unlocks. I feel like that's not intentionally misleading, but I do feel like it is misleading to players on how those will be unlocked. I feel like it's a much better move to just put those in the low buy store with every other low buy item in the game. Anyway, the emotes are pretty cool. The first one is based off of that meme of Kirk and McCoy aggressively nodding at each other. I thought that was really funny, so it's kind of cool to see that as an emote. The second one is another one that's based off of the Thriller dance. It's instead of a looping animation, it's just like one of the moves from the dance that'll just play off once. It's kind of cool. The animation didn't look great on the live stream. It was kind of janky looking, but I think that was just due to the stream not coming in at great quality. I'm sure it'll look way better actually in the game. And the last emote is probably the most impressive looking one. It's based off of the TNG episode Schisms, when Riker gets taken from his quarters out of his bed and gets sent through a portal to the dimension where those aliens were like experimenting on the Enterprise crew, which Star Trek Online would later utilize and call them the Solanae and make them as a servitor race of the Iconians. But yeah, it's a really cool emote, and I definitely look forward to seeing that be fired off constantly all over the place. But yeah, that is about everything. So the Omega is going live for PC players tomorrow from the Infinity lock boxes. Not a bad ship. I don't think it's an amazing ship. Some of you are like it. Some of you are not going to care about it. And that's okay. Not every ship has to be the most amazing thing in the world. Personally, I'm far more excited about the Halloween event prize. That kit module, I am so excited for it. It hits a bit of nostalgia for me. I used to be a huge zombie movie nerd back in the day. I still am to some extent, but Walking Dead kind of killed my enthusiasm for that in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's I don't know, I'm excited to see it. It's funny, and that's I'm going to enjoy using it. So I can't wait to get my hands on that. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all this down below in the comments. And while you're down there, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you'd like to further support the channel, hit the join button to become a member. Check out the affiliate links in the pinned comment. Check out the merch store down below, or if you're ever shopping on the Epic Game Store, be sure to use my content creator code STU1701. Any of these really help me out, and I really do appreciate it. Either way, though, thank you so much for watching. My name's Stu, and I will see you guys next time.